This is Matt, and he has a problem. Amongst other things, he keeps buying Toyota Aygos. So Matt had not one, not two, but three examples of the second generation Toyota Aygo, and he's gone and bought another one, but this one has an X on the back because this is your new Aygo, and it is the Toyota Aygo, not X, it's a Aygo Cross.
Toyota Aygo Cross.
Despite the fact it says X on the back, and the other Toyotas, which are crosses,
Say the word cross.
say the word cross, like the Yaris and the Corolla. So, a bit confusing.
There's one other car that does this, where it's X but you say cross. It's the KTM Crossbow.
Tenuous link. Okay. so this is the new Toyota Aygo. Previous Toyota Aygo generations were collaborations with Peugeot and Citroen, part of the PSA arrangement. So for the first and second generation, this is the third generation Aygo, and it is a standalone product because Peugeot and Citroen have decided not to replace the C1 and the 108. So this is now based on the Toyota Yaris platform, which is the TNGA platform architecture.
It is, yes.
Yes.
So this is a Yaris underneath.
So this is a Yaris underneath, essentially. And it's a bit bigger than the previous Aygo.
It is. It's about 20 centimetres longer.
Yeah, and it's a bit wider, a bit taller.
A little wider, a little taller.
So this has gone for more of an SUV look. Obviously, it's very fashionable to have SUVs and SUV looking cars. So this does sit a bit higher, or it looks like it sits a bit higher.
It sits a little bit higher.
Okay.
And the body, I think, is a little bit taller.
Okay.
So
But it is sat on 18-inch wheels, which are crazy. Can't believe how big they were when you told me. With a 175 cross section, so
it has the wheels of a Ford Model T, ladies and gentlemen.
yeah, and it
Very
looks
big
like it,
in
but it does
diameter,
look good from
very
the
skinny.
side. But,
Yep.
yeah, so I suppose they tried to obviously try and deliver the look, but also have low rolling coefficient
Yep.
as much as they can do anyway. And you've got lots of unpainted plastic around the bottom to make it look like it's a bit more SUV-y, but it's still a front-wheel drive hatchback. It's got one engine under the bonnet, which is a 1 litre 3-cylinder petrol engine
From the old Aygo.
from the old Aygo.
And the old Aygo.
Oh, right, so it's a pretty old engine. It's got how much power?
71.
71
71 stallions in the
Nice.
stable.
And it's got a 5-speed manual gearbox in your car, but you could also get a CVT.
Yes, you can.
Okay. Right, so let's talk about styling before we go inside the car. So I really like the front end. It's got these really big, cheeky headlights. It sort of, I don't know, really sort of gives it a face.
It does.
Yeah.
It does have a face. It's characterful. It's quite clean.
Yep.
No more X motif.
Well, there's a little X in the
Little X in
the headlight, which is
Yep.
a nice little sort of
Yep.
Easter egg to find.
Yep.
You've got this really big sort of like bumper grille arrangement, which makes the car look really sort of clean and tidy around the front.
Yeah, it
All
does.
in there.
Yeah.
I do find it strange because you were saying that this isn't actually a panel for the radar.
No.
It's just a panel with the badge on it, 'cause the radar's up in the windscreen. So
The panel is there purely to carry the badge.
yes, so that's quite odd. So let's go down the car a bit more.
Okay.
Yeah, really like this one. And this car has got two-tone bodywork, which is really much a
Bi-tone.
feature of this car, isn't it? And
To a
previous
certain
Aygos
extent, the
as
last
well,
one. Yeah.
because they had sort of different coloured inserts around the headlights and whatnot. So this is two-tone, which is standard on the mid-spec and top-spec cars, and some of
Yes.
the special editions,
But not the base model.
but not the base model. I think it really gives this car a really great look. It's a really big part of the whole styling of this car, really, two-tone. And so yeah, let's keep going down the side of the car. So this is obviously 5-door only, where the previous
5-door
car
only,
was
yeah.
3 or 5-door. You've got this sort of nice sharp taper to the doors, which we'll go on to later. Is quite a compromise in terms of usability.
Yeah. You say it's 5 doors.
yeah.
We'll see how that really
It
works.
has doors that open, but whether they're actually useful is another thing.
Yep.
And then round the back, it's got quite a slanted back end, doesn't it? Which is actually, to me, quite similar to the previous,
It's an
especially the
evolution.
facelift. Yeah.
The tail.
The taillights
lights,
are quite similar in shape.
The
You've got
tailgate is a piece of glass.
Yeah.
It's all very much an evolution. of the
one-piece
last
glass
car.
tailgate and this sort of sloping back end here. So actually, the rear end of the car does actually look quite similar to the previous Aygo, and you've still got the weird shaped cladding, unpainted plastic around the
Because it
wheel
makes it
arches.
look tough.
Yes, and
Like
then
a Rover Streetwise from 20 years ago.
yes, and then you've got an insert in the rear bumper, which looks a bit like the one on the front, but it's coloured to the body colour of the car. So I personally think this looks really cool.
It looks fantastic.
I think it looks really cool. It looks really cheeky, really modern. Yes, it's sort of giving in a little bit to some of this SUV styling. It's a bit sort of like a Polo Dune type car, isn't it? Streetwise, like you said.
Streetwise, but I think it wears it well.
But it does wear it well. It's a nice evolution, and I think, yeah, it gives it a bit of street appeal. I think, you know, yeah, it's quite stylish. I like it. I really like it.
It's chunky. You've got big wheels right at the corners.
Yep.
You've got 2 colours. I think it's a really good design.
I agree.
So
And
in terms of style,
a special feature this car does have, which is quite unusual nowadays, is canvas roof, a rollback roof, a bit like you found on cars of the 90s, VW Polos, Ford cars, Renault Twingos. But there was a bit of a resurgence a few years ago with the second generation Aygo C1 108,
Yeah.
Twingo, Smart 4. And it was an option on this car that you have specifically chosen.
I tick that box. Yes.
So before we move on, just quickly, so this is a mid-spec Toyota Aygo.
Yep.
So there's 3 core trim levels and a few specials.
They keep doing
editions.
specials, yeah. So you've got Pure, Edge and Exclusive. I've gone for Edge, reason being it was probably a bit much for my budget going for Exclusive, especially with the roof as well, which I really wanted. And Edge, I mean, Edge is really well equipped anyway, so yeah.
So you've got a full suite of active safety on here.
Full suite of active safety.
So adaptive cruise control, lane keep assist, traffic sign recognition, front collision warning. So all the safety technology, which is quite impressive on a small car like this, and on most cars it's not even standard at all. Yeah, Android Auto, Apple CarPlay standard.
Yep.
It's wired up until mid-spec, and then it's wireless on top spec. And they all come with a touchscreen of some sort.
Yeah.
Okay. So yes, it has the main features, but yeah, the two-tone bodywork isn't available on the entry-level cars. It's a single body colour, isn't it?
Yeah. You get white or black.
Yeah, white or black. Yeah, and there's quite a lot of colours you can get, which are quite bright and quite funky. But you've gone for white, which gives it this sort of panda look.
Ironically, it looks like a Panda.
Yes, it does look like
It's
a
a
panda.
Toyota.
It is a Toyota, but yeah, it looks quite cool, and it's the contrast you want, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
So let's take a look inside, see how practical it is, and the design of the interior, and then we'll go out for a drive. So let's talk about the inside of the car. So firstly, Matt, you're about 6 foot.
6'1".
6'1", so you're not a small lad. And you're in a little car. How is it in the front?
It's good. It's good in the front. I've got enough leg room, headroom. I have got the seat all the way back, so I'm not sure. There are people taller than me.
Yeah,
out there,
that's one thing I've noticed. The runners are really far forward, really exposed. They poke out the front of the seat, and instead of sort of like being in the centre of the seat, they sort of start really far forward.
Yeah.
I'm guessing they've done that to give space to the occupants in the back to put their feet somewhere.
Yes. In theory, yes.
So, yeah, good amount of space in the front, but I mean, does that ever bother you?
I keep being worried about catching it, but I never have.
Okay. So maybe it's not as bad as it looks.
Yeah, maybe not as bad as it looks.
Okay. And it does actually look like the seat's quite lifted, actually. There's quite a bit of clearance underneath it, so...
Yeah, in my old car, I'd have it right as low as it would go. In this car, I don't, but I think that's because I feel like I should be higher up, because that's kind of the point of the car.
Yeah, okay.
And this is, comfy driving position.
Yeah. Okay, well, so we'll go on the design a little bit, in a little bit, but yeah, lovely leather steering wheel from the Yaris with all your adaptive active safety features on. The dials are really nice. I really like dials.
Yeah, the instruments are really
So you've got a sort of single cluster arrangement with a rev counter. Was there a rev counter on your one?
Oh, yeah.
Was it? Oh, right, okay. All right. I know it was optional. You've got auto lights, auto wipers.
Yep, auto high beam. I've actually got, this shows how dull I am. I was really excited about it having an intermittent rear wiper, which the old car didn't have.
Wow.
You could either have it on or off. Well, in this one you can have intermittent, which I prefer.
So they've made some real meaningful updates over the previous
this is
car.
cutting edge stuff.
Yeah, okay. These look quite similar to the old car, these wall vents, don't they?
Yes, similar, yeah.
And there's no vents in the middle?
No, there's a vent on top of the dash, similar to the old car.
Right, okay. One thing I did forget to mention, which is actually really cool, so it has like a colour TFT screen, or LCD screen in the centre. And there's some really cool graphics on that. So when you start it and when you open the doors and stuff. Yeah, so I think that's really quite cool actually. That makes it seem like quite an expensive car. So yeah, let's I'll hop in. Let's have a quick look at the interior design. Okay, right. So it's got this sort of rounded design. Although to me, I think it looks really aftermarket because there's like a square screen. Although it's flush, it's just sort of like plonked into this big slab of plastic.
I really like it. I think they've done a good job with it, but I can see why you would think why maybe some people wouldn't like it. A square screen in a round hole.
Yes, yeah, and it just. I mean, I think as well. This is black because you've got a white car.
Yes.
But this might be a different colour on different cars, so maybe it doesn't look so obviously. Yeah.
There's a bit more going on when you've got a contrast colour. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
These are your clamp controls from the Yaris, so these are quite nice refined. So single zone clamp control. You've got single USB, and you've got these ball vents, which I mentioned, which are from, well, look like what was in the previous Aygo. I'm not sure if the carryover, but it looks very similar.
Yep.
Little tiny glove box. You've got some cup holders here. You've got a little pad here, which would be a wireless charger on the top spec car.
Yep.
And it's got this little pattern here, which is like these little squares, which are also on the seats here and on the light, which is quite.
It's a nice little touch.
It's a nice feature, and it's nice that it's throughout the car, but it's different to the X pattern in the headlights.
Yes.
So, yeah, I guess it doesn't. And you've got some exposed colour coding on the doors, which I really like. It makes the interior feel really nice and bright. And I don't think it's a cheap thing, but it seems to be associated with cheap cars. But I don't know.
I think it's
like, so
it brings some of the colour into the car, which is
I completely agree.
Great.
Yeah. Okay, right. Let's hop in the back and see what that is like.
Problem number one. The door now sticks out a long way, so in tight spaces you've got to be careful you don't damage that. Problem number two, bottom of door, very narrow.
And actually, although that looks like the end of the door, it's not. The door's actually here.
Yes.
That just keeps going for styling.
Arguably problem number three, window only pops out.
Well, yeah, but on some cars they don't do anything. So
exactly, yeah.
Yeah, so I don't think it's too bad.
With that. Problem number
All right,
four.
in you go then.
That's in my driving position.
That's in your driving position.
Oh boy.
Well, let's move the seat forward.
It's okay, I got it.
Oh, are you in? Are you in? Oh, yeah.
You can fit in here,
It's like being on a motorbike.
providing you are prepared to saw off the bottoms of your legs, and also remove your head. It's a bit tight on that side of things. Yeah.
I'm gonna get in. I'll see what I think. The passenger seat's a bit further forward, isn't it? But oh god, it is tight. So you've got one-piece front seats. So you've got these headrests here, so you can't really see much. You've got the roof in your car.
Yeah.
Which you've mentioned, which you think compromises the headroom a little bit.
When you're in the back, you do pay for that.
So let's swap the camera. So I've chosen to wax my hair up for the video, which means that it does brush the roof. It is a bit tight in here. If the seat was further forward, I would be able to lounge further back, and I feel like then my head would be all right. But it is tight. I can put my feet under the front seat, which helps. I just can't put my knees anywhere. So it's great if you've got feet and no knees.
Actually, yeah, the foot space isn't bad. You just can't have knees.
Yeah, so
or a head.
One thing I do notice about it though is because it's got these like very rakish rear windows, and you sit quite far back.
You can't see very much.
Yeah, you can't really see very much. I feel like I'm in the back of like an old carriage, you know. So like an old coach carriage, like a horse-drawn carriage, where you sit in the back and the doors are further forward. So it feels very dark, and it's got a dark headline, which is quite unusual to find in cars. They're normally like white or beige to make it feel like you've got space, even though you haven't.
Yeah, this is a good place to rest your head. Look.
So there's no door pockets.
No door pocket. Last one had door pockets.
You've got
in the back.
Little handles here, but there's literally nothing else. There is a cup holder in the centre.
Yeah.
And you do get headrests, I suppose, which is something. Yeah. But it is super tight in here, and to be honest, I sort of want to get out.
Yeah.
And I hope you haven't.
I'm not sure I can get out.
Well, we'll try and extract you somehow. You're getting out of this car because it is ridiculous. I mean, look at that opening. I mean, look at that opening. And then the problem is the seat's actually really far inboard. So I'm having to like shuffle out.
Do you know why? Do you know what? I think this is exactly the same seat back seat from the old car.
Oh, well, it could be.
It has that look about it that it could be.
And then because you've got the bodywork here, I'm having to put my leg really far forward under the door to then get out. I'm going to record you getting out to demonstrate this after the train. Okay, Matt, so out you come. How are you going to get out? Just get out like you normally would, like a normal person, although the seat's really far forward. So far back, so you can't. Yeah, not very graceful, is it? So the back's not great, but it is a little car. So you can sacrifice it, and the boot probably being bigger is probably more useful.
Toyota said that their customers told them they wanted more boot space, but they weren't bothered about more.
So they listened to their customers.
So they say anyway.
One-piece glass tailgate. And there's the boot, full of stuff, but it's a good example to show you how big it is. Seats fold.
Seats fold
50-50, okay.
Seat backs.
Yep.
Nothing clever.
Okay, nothing clever, but it's useful to have. The boot is bigger on this version compared to the old one.
It's about 230 litres, and the old one was about 100 and just under 160. So it's about 70 litres.
Wow. Okay, so quite a big lift. 70 litres means nothing to most people, but it's quite a bit bigger than a large one. You can put more stuff in it.
Yep. Enough stuff for a weekend away for two, no problem. Also, another luxury feature which they've added.
Oh,
a boot light.
Boot lights. God, this car's heavily upgraded over the previous
you
one.
only got that on top spec.
Oh, really? Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So there you go. You can now see stuff in the dark. You've got this flimsy cover, but I suppose it's all you need, really. It stops you being able to see stuff, and it's really easy to put somewhere if you don't want it in. You've got two struts. The other one had one, didn't it?
My previous ones had two. The original Aygo had one.
Ah, there you go. Okay.
It's a bit decadent, isn't it? Two of these.
There you go. So the boot is bigger, and it's not bad actually. And
it's gripped. It's sorted. Let's off road.
Yeah, this is a bit bumpy, isn't it? Okay then. So let's talk about what this thing's like to drive. It's your car. You've owned it for a few months, so you should do the review.
Okay, so I'd say to drive, it's more grown up than the last car, but at the same time, it kind of still is the same in that it's small, it's light, it hasn't got a great deal of grip, it has no power, no torque. So you have to rev it out, you have to be up and down the gearbox, you can't be afraid of revs and full throttle, and in that way, yeah, it's very much like the last one.
So we're on a twisty road right now.
Yep.
The one thing I noticed is the ride is very firm.
It's very firm.
It's very firm.
It rides like a small car with big wheels.
Yes, it does. That's exactly how I would describe it. It's not super uncomfortable, but it just feels overly firm, and it feels a bit busy. It feels quite refined. I would say it actually feels quite well damped, but it's just a bit busy.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Handles quite nicely flat.
It does.
Gear shift?
Gear shift is good. It's got a... how did you describe it? A short throw with a long lever?
Yeah, it's got quite a long gear lever.
Yeah.
But when I was playing around with it, the throw felt quite short actually. I thought it felt alright, it's quite good.
Yep, it's good.
One thing I do also notice, this is 3-cylinder. You can tell it's a 3-cylinder.
Yes.
It's got quite a nice little thrummy sound to it.
Yes, it has.
When I first started it up, it felt quite shaky.
Yep.
Quite vibratey. But it's not so bad when you're going.
No, it's pretty refined actually.
Yeah.
I would say you do get, it depends on the road surface to a certain extent, but you do get quite a bit of tyre noise.
We're going to go left here. I'm going to take you onto a dual carriageway.
Okay.
We're going to see what it's like. It's got a short slip road, so you might have to give it the beans.
I have noticed about this car. I don't know because I can't find a figure for this car, but it feels like it has a smaller turning circle than the last one somehow.
Okay.
It turns really tightly. You can turn around in junctions and things, and I feel it just, to me, it feels like it does it in a smaller space than the last one did. But I don't know if that's just the way the steering feels. perhaps. I would say the steering is lighter than the last car. It feels more heavily assisted. You don't really get...
Is that bad? Good.
It's very good at low speed and manoeuvring. It's fantastic. I don't feel like it gives me quite the confidence the last one did at higher speeds.
Okay.
We tried driving on country road enthusiastically, and it just, I don't know, it's very light and you can't feel much, but it does seem to be quite accurate, and it's not, you know, it's quite sort of tight, you know, and in that regard, but just, yeah, very light and lacking in feel. That's probably from the electrical assistance, but then the old one had electric power steering, so it's just a different system, probably from the Yaris.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a passenger. It's quite a nice car. It feels very refined. I'd say like noise, like tyre noise, road noise, quite well suppressed. It feels.
Yep.
It doesn't feel like a super tinny car, despite what some of the doors sound like when you close them. You know, it doesn't feel like it's echoing in here.
It's a slightly odd car in that regard, because you shut the doors, especially the back doors. And it's, yeah, like you say, very tinny, very light doors. But then when you're driving along, it feels quite grown up and refined and solid and chunky, and it feels like a bigger car.
Well, I guess
which is
that's what you
good.
want,
Yeah.
I think for me, it's strange to. I know they've tried to go for this look, but the ride, it seems like an odd thing to trade on.
Yeah.
You know, this is, if it is more designed for urban environments, then the roads aren't always the best quality. You have speed bumps, you have traffic calming measures. It's not bad. It's not bad at all. It's noticeable when it has a firm edge, and I think it's probably down to those rather large wheels.
Yep. Those big wheels bring their compromises. The ride being the main one. Also, maybe there's more assistance in the steering because of the bigger wheels. Also, they're a funny size, are the tyres, so when it comes to getting new ones, that could be a little bit more expensive than the last car, which had a more normalish size.
Yeah, because they are 18-inch and they're 175, like we said, which is an odd combo. It's it's almost like an electric car sort of tyre.
It reminds me of a BMW i3. So we have, if I remember rightly, 93 newton meters of torque at about 4,500 RPM, and 71 horsepower at about 6,000 RPM.
So you do sort of need to ring it out a little bit. Yeah.
You do.
You're going to have to ring it out in about 3 seconds.
Oh yes.
That looks like a gap to me, Matt.
Oh, here we go.
Oh, brace yourself.
Brace and
hold
ready.
on. Let's just see how quick those numbers are changing. Oh. It's not counting in seconds, is it? Or is that miles an hour?
60.
60 miles an hour in 60 seconds.
That's the most I've ever rode it out.
Is it?
Yeah.
What did you hit?
6.
6,000 RPM. Wow.
It is a bit reluctant when you're trying to set off in first from the standstill. It's a bit like, come on, go.
Maybe it's.
I keep thinking, is it the big wheels that it's just having to like overcome something?
Yeah, that's the thing. If the outer diameter of the wheels is bigger, which highly likely it is.
Yeah,
it must
it's got to be, because the tyre profile's not much different.
And the gear ratios are the same. If they haven't changed the diff, then the overall gearing will be different.
They must have changed the diff somewhat.
So I would expect that they've probably changed the file drive ratio to counteract the big wheels. So the acceleration is probably similar to what it was before. Does it feel faster or slower than the old one?
It feels the same, really.
About the same, yeah. So maybe they've
I think when you get when you get between the difference between 13 point something and 14 point something, it's just it's a small percentage difference in reality, relatively speaking. The fuel economy, I'd say it's there or thereabouts the same. I don't think it has stop start, which the old one didn't.
Okay. That's
so
good. I like that.
It works really well. I had that Smart I had a few years ago. The stop start was a bit iffy in that. This is perfect.
It's good. Can you turn it off?
You can. There's a button down here. Which way?
We're going to go. Let's go right now. Actually.
Okay, so let's quickly summarise the Aygo Cross. Keep wanting to call it the Aygo X.
I swear to God, I thought it was probably Aygo X. So I'll quickly give my opinion, and then you can summarise it as an owner.
Okay.
So firstly, I think it looks wicked. I really like the style. It's super funky. I really like the two-tone arrangement that it's got, and the SUV look they tried to capitalise on. It does look really cool. But I do think they've compromised the car for the styling. So those wheels, they look cool. They are quite big. They are quite an awkward size tyre, which is probably, like you say, hard to find replacement tyres. The ride is quite firm as well. And yeah, I do think the rear doors as well, they look great. They're pretty useless. This car is very much almost like a 2+2 in terms of seats, but also a 2+2 in terms of doors, really, because the doors are just not proper doors.
Yeah.
It's hard to be in the back of this car, but it's also hard to get in the back of this car.
Yeah.
But I do think it's really, really cool. I think it's great that Toyota have stuck with the A segment when Peugeot and Citroen, who are known for doing little cars, and France is a really big market for little cars, they've left the segment.
Yeah.
So Toyota have got it alone, and this car probably won't be around for very long. With zero-emission vehicle mandates, which is going to hit Toyota really hard, they're probably not going to be able to sell this car for very long, or really limit sales, so get it while you can.
If your Toyota dealer will let you.
Yeah, if you can buy it anyway. And I think it's, got a lot of character. It is quite expensive.
It is quite expensive.
But it looks like quite an expensive car on the outside. They're probably not going to be able to sell this car for very long, or really limit sales, so get it while you can.
If your Toyota dealer will let you.
Yeah, if you can buy it anyway. And I think it's, got a lot of character. It is quite expensive.
It is quite expensive.
But it looks like quite an expensive car on the outside. It's got loads of modern tech on it, all the active safety stuff. It's stuff that you normally have to pay for on even more expensive cars than that. And it has got Android Auto and Apple CarPlay. You can get wireless chargers, and it's really, really good from that point of view. So yeah, I think it's a really cool little car, and that, surprisingly, a few years ago you wouldn't have said that, is quite a rare thing nowadays.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
from your point of view as an owner, what's good, what's bad?
I agree with, I think, pretty much everything you've said. It looks fantastic, but they've compromised the car to make it look fantastic, and it's quite expensive. Big wheels, look great, ride is firm. Steering's a little bit weird, but other than that, it drives really well. Other than that, and the firm ride, obviously. It is on the pricey side, but I can see why it's on the pricey side. It's not the best city car, probably. The Kia Picanto and the Good Day i10 will be better cars. Probably a little bit cheaper, more practical, more sensible. That's just, steering's a little bit weird, but other than that, it drives really well. Other than that, and the firm ride, obviously. It is on the pricey side, but I can see why it's on the pricey side. It's not the best city car, probably. The Kia Picanto and the Good Day i10 will be better cars. Probably a little bit cheaper, more practical, more sensible. Dacia Sandero, it's hard to argue against that. But
They are cars you buy with your head.
they're very much cars you buy with your
factor
head.
to this,
Yeah.
isn't there?
I think this is a heart over head car,
Yeah.
ultimately. Third or fourth best city car, but for me, it's the only one I would have, because I love the way it looks. I love the interior design. I love the roof. I just love the fun. So that's why it's the one for me.
Yeah, and I think compared to the old car, yes, the back seats are still pretty useless. It's fine, it's a little car. They've improved the boot, which is a useful thing to have.
It is.
It's quite modern inside. It's got loads of technology, and
Yeah.
I completely get that it's hard to make money on these cars, and it is quite expensive. But I really feel like it looks like quite an expensive car. The interior is quite modern. We've got loads of modern technology on it, and I think it has justified a bit of that cost. Yes, you're having to pay for a little car, and you can get bigger cars for the similar money, but it has loads of character and a canvas rollback roof. I mean,
It's basically
that is super
convertible,
cool.
isn't it?
I mean, it's pretty daft that you paid a lot of money to watch it, but I respect you more because of it.
Thanks very much.
Right, well, thank you for watching. Thanks for that, for letting us have a look around your
No problem.
new car. Don't get to look
Thanks,
around new
everybody.
cars very often, so it's quite a novelty. And yeah, thanks so much.